Here's my car. I'm gonna put it up on eBay after lots of hard work. Just don't really have time to work on it anymore. It'd be nice if somebody could finish it up. Could be a really nice car. I've driven it for like 3 or 4 years now. Drove it for about 40 minutes a day. So I put some pretty nice tires, they're Michelin's. They still got a lot of tread left on them. That has wheel adapters to the Chevy bolt pattern, and those are Trans Am rims. The door, some people have asked if the windows still work, and it's still got the crank window. Window goes down. On the latch, in order to make it work, I had to weld a little bit of a curve to it and had to take off the block there, and on the one strike pin where it goes to, I had to grind that off there, but it shuts really nice and holds tight, and if you lock it, the original key still works to unlock it, so I was able to keep all that. I haven't put the weather stripping back on for this dew strip here, so one place water does get in is through here. You could either put on the stock one, or I was thinking of trying to find just a universal one, maybe go on there. As far as when it rains up top, I've got weather stripping up top and on this side, and this thing right here catches any rain that falls down the middle. And then there's a tube. I welded a brake nipple to the end of it, and then I have a rubber piece of tube going across here. In case it ever gets clogged, I can just take the rubber tube off and clean it out. And then there's another metal brake nipple there going out into this channel, so the water comes out in the channel and then goes down to the bottom. The door's held up by 2 constant force springs. Each one's 150 pounds. They're from SPD distributors. For a hinge, there's a roll cage that goes all the way through at the middle, and then the pipe goes to a roll cage in the front that goes all the way around the windshield. And then there's another piece of pipe that just barely fits over this, and I've got grease fittings on it so you can grease it. And there's a support that's actually welded, comes in and is welded to there, and that support goes all the way up through the door, or through the roof down into the door. And then there's another one at the other end of the door, and that does the same thing. It goes all the way through the roof, and there's where the other one is, connects up in there, and there's the grease fitting for it. The other side's the same way. I haven't finished doing weather stripping for the sides, so there's a lot of wind noise, but no water really gets in there. I've driven it in the rain without getting wet, and it does pretty well. The interior still needs, you can see it's still missing some pieces for the headliner, and kind of got the back headliner done. There's the back seat. There's no carpet. I've got some Kicker 6x9s in the back, but I don't have a radio. I was just plugging an iPod into an amplifier. The bodywork, I got it about as straight as I could, and then I went to a body man and had him finish the rest. And that was about 1.5 years ago, and it's held up pretty well. Where I shaved the drip rail off, you can't really see it in the light here, but in certain lights you can kind of see maybe little bubbles. Like there's one right there, some little ones right there, or maybe it might need to be touched up again. There's one little bubble there where looks like rust might be coming through. One there, and on the door there's a couple little bubbles right here. Pretty small though. And that's about it for rust that's bubbling through, which is pretty good for after a year and a half. There wasn't a whole lot of rust to begin with. There's where I filled in the old hinges, there's a little crack there for the filler, and I added the passenger mirror, which it didn't used to have, and that's kinda, the filler's kinda cracked there. As far as the bottoms of the doors, the passenger door doesn't get used as much, so it doesn't stay as well. It wants to fall unless you open it all the way to the top, and then it'll stay. At the bottoms of the doors, I never really finished. I rounded it off, and that still needs to be finished up. It's still in pretty rough shape, needs some body work. Let's see, what else? I put this on here so that the door didn't open up as far as it could, because after the guy did the body work, the roof was a little bit higher. And you can see that it gets pretty close to the center. And what needs to happen is, need to cut, whoever gets it, if they want it to open further, they need to cut a little bit off of the center, so it'll make that gap a little wider here, and then add a little onto the end of the door, and then it should be able to open all a little higher to match with the one next to it. Besides it not staying open, it actually shuts really nice, and it has a nice line going down. It's pretty even, and the other side, the line got kind of tight. May need some ground out. It gets real tight up in here. May either need to grind some off this side or some off this side to make the line a little looser. And it actually was so tight that from hitting this, it popped off a chunk. Well, it came loose. And this was just recently. You know, it's been a year and a half since this was all done. So I went ahead and just popped the whole big piece. It came off in one chunk, and I got some 2-part epoxy and just epoxied it back there. There was no rust under there. It was just bare metal, and it was nice and shiny. I didn't want any rust to start going under there, so I 2-part epoxied it, and so pretty good temporary fix for now. And trying to think what else you guys would want to know about the car. It runs well, still drives well. I got gauges, got a volt gauge and a cylinder head temp and the oil temp, and then I have 2 air to fuel meters. One is for the left hand side of the engine and one is for the right hand side of the engine, because the carburetor I have on here has it's the Delordo IDF or Delordo DLHRA, I think, and each side goes to a different side. And then I got the tachometer. And there's the clock. And then that amper gauge isn't any good. It's just kind of sitting in the place. Go around to the engine. There's the Delordo, made in Italy. good. Go back to the engine again so you can hear me. It's got the ceramic coated exhaust, and the DeLordo carburetor was just rebuilt by Mark Harney. He's on the Samba board. He does a really good job, and he set it up just for this engine. The engine's 1700 cc. It's got the 041 heads. It's got, trying to think, got the aluminum valve covers. It's got the oil filter on there. And there's my pickup for the heat gauge right there.